Sometimes you might be faced with some problems that involve quadratic expressions under inequalities. When this is done, or when this is the case, how are you going to solve them? Let us consider some examples to illustrate the steps we can use to solve problems involving quadratic expressions. Just like we have in the conventional linear expression using quadratic method, you can also use the methods or the procedures to solve problems under inequality. And most of the times, the common method used is the factorization method. You can also use other methods, but in most cases, it is easier to use factorization method. How do we go about this? Let us consider the problem we have on the screen. We are asked to solve the inequality x squared minus 3x greater than 18. The first step is to make sure that we have an equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, which is either greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to 18. Is that okay? Remember, this is less than or equal to 0 rather. Remember, this is the general form of a quadratic equation. Is that okay? So we need something, we need the equation to be in this form. And how do we do that? It is to subtract 18 from both sides. If I subtract 18 from both sides, I have x squared minus 3x minus 18 greater than 0. From our factorization method, we have to look for two factors of 18. If we multiply the coefficient of x over here, the coefficient of x squared by the constant term, is that okay? We are going to have 1 times 18, which is equal to 18. So looking for the factors of 18 that will give us minus 3. Of course, the factors of 18 that will give us minus 3 are 6 and 3. Okay, so once we get that, we have to include our signs to make sure we have minus 3. So how do we assign the sign convention to this? Remember that minus 6 plus 3 will give us minus 3. So we can insert minus 6 and plus 3 into this equation, this inequality, to solve our problems further and hence obtain the values of x. So if we do that, we have x squared minus 6x plus 3x minus 18 is greater than 0. We have not done anything to this equation. We have not done anything to it. They are still the same thing. Only for the fact that we substituted the values of minus 6x plus 3x for minus 3x. And I told you the reason why we did that. Because minus 6x plus 3x is still the same thing as minus 3x. So if we pair them by grouping or pairing, so after grouping them, what is common to each of the groups? We have x into x minus 6 plus 3 into x minus 6. And the trick here is, or the logic is, if what is inside this bracket is not the same thing as what is inside this bracket, then you are wrong. Is that okay? But since they are the same, we will now have to pick one of them and then add to this one outside the bracket. So we have x minus 6 x plus 3 is greater than 0. So if we have that, the next thing to do is to split them. This shows that x minus 6 is greater than 0, or x plus 3 is greater than 0. That is what this means. So of course we want to look for the value of x. So we will take whatever is on the same side with x to the other side of the inequality equation. So we have x is greater than 0 plus 6, or x is greater than 0 minus 3. So this gives us x is greater than 6 or x is greater than minus 3 as the final answer. So these are the values of x, or the range of values of x for this particular equation. This is the end of today's class. So in our subsequent class, we will also consider other aspects of inequality.